Hello everyone, welcome to tonight's stream. I have to fix some stuff before we start it. For instance, I see my camera, or rather my camera is very far behind. Okay, hold up, fixing the camera problem right now. Apologize for all this. Hold up. Alright, let me... Why can I hear my own video? Wait, what do I hear it through? Oh, okay, I have a window open. Okay, there we go. So, you guys in the chat need to tell me how the audio for the music sounds, because my parents have music on downstairs, so I needed to add my own music. So that way, you can't hear their music downstairs. So I added just like 40 minutes of Pokemon music, meaning it's going to loop and cycle over and over again. So hopefully the music sounds good to you guys. Joshua is calling me in his room. He got an IRS scam voicemail. Okay, show me after the stream. But, let me make sure everything works here. Okay, well, if it's good enough. Alright. So, this stream tonight, is everything sunk up good? I don't know. It looks like it's sunk up good to me, so I'm just gonna close OBS, like put it behind there so I don't have to worry about hoping everything looks good on my end. Anyway, tonight, we are going to be reading 7 Captain Underpants books. We're going to start with Captain Underpants 1, and we're going to end with Captain Underpants and the Big Bad Battle of the Bionic Booger Boy, Part 2, The Revenge of the Ridiculous Robo-Boogers. Now, if we hit the goal, which I know that we're not, we most likely are not going to hit this goal, even if we hit like half the goal, then I'm going to go downstairs, I'm going to find my Super Diaper Baby spin-off books, and I'll probably read those too. But that's only if we hit the goal, which is like kind of unlikely, so anything could happen, I guess. We're gonna start in 1 minute. Let me take the link that I posted on my Discord and put it on my Twitter. I don't know, like when I stop talking, you probably hear my my parents' music, so I'm gonna try to just keep talking. Okay, let me take out this. I will be reading Captain Underpants books. Prepare to watch the dumbest stream ever. I am live reading Captain Underpants books 1 through 7. Alright, so now you could probably, yeah, see how I'm talking? You could probably hear I don't know if you guys in the chat can hear my parents' music, but hopefully not, because I added Pokemon over it. I am live. Boom, tweet. Okay, so, okay, it's the wrong thumbnail on Twitter, but we got this. Alright, so, let me make sure everything looks good, everything sounds good. Boom, tweet. Okay, so, alright, so I think the music is at a good volume. If you guys have a problem with it, just let me know, and I will do my best to fix it. So yeah, now that we have 5 people in here, I'm just gonna, I don't need to recap anything. I think these 5 people were already here. Let me actually go post this link in Discord, even though I already did, just so I can say live now, and milk the promotion channel even more to get people to join. So, live now. Okay, so that's good. We got it. Sorry about that. I just had to post it. So yeah, we're over here. We got the funds for videos and supplies. We're at $10 thanks to Emma from last stream. Goal, if we could point to it, goal's $100 right there. Goes towards 3DS capture card, games to stream, any video thing I need, like 4 videos. Over here, okay, I forgot I'm reversed. Over here we have which book we're reading, and we have a little current book thing that I made in Photoshop real quick. We're starting out with this one, and I have pictures of all 7 books saved to my computer so I can quickly swap out when we switch books. So for people who aren't here, like CJ and I think Josiah just joined, if we hit the goal down there, or whatever, I'll probably go dig up my Super Diaper Baby books and read some of those too. If not, we're just gonna do the 7 Captain Underpants books. So I guess we should just jump right in with Captain Underpants 1, an epic novel. Hopefully this is not some form of piracy, since people could like join and just listen to me reading books instead of going and buying them themselves. But let's just hope we're not doing any sort of piracy. Let's go. Here we go. About to start. Meet George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top. Harold is the one on the right with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that now. Now, I don't know if... hold up. I just got a text. I don't know if, okay. Had to, answer that text. But anyway, I don't know, what was I gonna say? I'm forgetting what I'm gonna say anyway. Anyway, I'm probably not gonna show every single picture, because that one will be here for a very long time if I do that. So I'm just gonna flip through, and also, I'm hoping to only spend, at most, 20 minutes on each book. That way it's 20, 40, an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 40 minutes, 2 hours, and the final one would just be 2 hours and 10 minutes, and we'd end this at a reasonable time. Hopefully we can spend even less than 20 minutes on each book if I speed read. I don't know if it's possible, but I guess we can try. George and Harold were best friends. They had a lot in common. They lived right next door to each other. They were both in the same 4th grade class at Jerome Horwitz Elementary School. George and Harold were usually responsible kids. Whenever anything bad happened, George and Harold were usually responsible. But don't get the wrong idea about these two. George and Harold were actually very nice boys. No matter what everyone else thought, they were good, sweet, and lovable. Well, okay, maybe they weren't so sweet and lovable, but they were good nonetheless. It's just that George and Harold each had a silly streak, a mile long. Usually that silly streak was hard to control. Sometimes it got them into big trouble, and once it got them into big, big trouble. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. We're already on chapter 2. Best storyteller, thank you, Alex. Chapter 2, Treehouse Comic Inc. After a hard time cracking jokes, pulling pranks, and causing mayhem at school, George and Harold liked to rush to the old treehouse in George's backyard. Inside the treehouse were 2 big fluffy chairs, a table, a cupboard crammed with junk food, a padlock crate filled with pencils, pens, and stacks of paper. I should have gotten a water for this. Now Harold loved to draw and George loved to make up stories, and together the 2 boys spent hours and hours writing and drawing their very own comic books. Over the years they had created hundreds of their own comics, starring dozens of their own superheroes. First there was Dogman, then came Timmy the Talking Toilet, and who could forget the Amazing Cow Lady. But the all-time greatest superhero they had ever made had to be the amazing Captain Underpants. George came up with the idea. Most superheroes look like they're flying around in their underwear, he said. Well, this guy actually is flying around in his underwear. The 2 boys laughed and laughed. Yeah, said Harold, he could fight with wedgie power. George and Harold spent entire afternoons writing and drawing the comic adventures of Captain Underpants. He was their coolest superhero ever. Luckily for the boys, the secretary at Jerome Horwitz Elementary School was much too busy to keep an eye on the copy machine, so whenever they got a chance, Harold and George would sneak into the office and run off several hundred copies of their latest Captain Underpants adventure. After school, they sold their homemade copies on the playgrounds for 50 cents each. Okay, that's 1 chapter. We got 2 chapters down. We're on chapter 3, The Adventures of Captain Underpants, which is actually, if I remember, yep, it's just a comic, which I'm gonna have to somehow show and read. If I could show that. I'll let you just see it, and then I'll read it. Also, the sky out here looks super strange. I like how the chat's just totally calm right now. No one's talking, they're just listening to me reading this. Let's go. Captain Underpants is my favorite book as a kid. Yeah, mine too, probably. It was a time of darkness and despair for planet Earth. Bad guys had taken over the streets, and all of the superheroes in the world were too old to fight evil. Hey, haha. Then along came the new, improved, extra-strength superhero. Tra-la-la. Look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's an egg salad sandwich. No way, I'm Captain Underpants. Captain Underpants was faster than a speeding wristband, more powerful than boxer shorts, and able to leap tall buildings without getting wedgies. Night and day, Captain Underpants watched over the city, fighting for truth, justice, and all that is pre-shrunken cottony. Meanwhile, at a nearby elementary school, it was Stinky Taco Surprise Day at the cafeteria. Everybody hated it so much they all threw it away. Soon the cafeteria food came to life. I am the Incredible Hunk. Hunk? The monster ran around the school eating everything in sight. Help, the Incredible Hunk just ate 15 folding chairs and the gym teacher. Oh no, not the folding chairs. Some of the jokes in here were good. This looks like a job for Captain Underpants. Captain Underpants shot lots of underwear at the monster, but didn't do any good. So Captain Underpants took off running. The Incredible Hunk chased after him. Grr, help, and chased him, and chased him. Finally, the Incredible Hunk got too tired and thirsty to chase Captain Underpants. How about a nice drink of water? So the monster took a long drink from a shiny white bowl, when suddenly, Captain Underpants flushed him down. What is this cringe? I don't know, Scotty. Hooray for Captain Underpants. And so the Incredible Hunk got flushed away and was never heard from again. The end. That's 4 chapters down. Cringe. Yeah. This is tonight's stream. People wanted this. People wanted me to read all 7 Captain Underpants books, Scotty. So here we are. Well, actually, there are more than 7, but we're only reading 7 tonight because it's the only ones I've managed to find. Captain Underpants Snook. Okay. Don't miss out on. Okay, we don't have to read that, but that's actually the name of the second book. So, how many pages are in a Captain Underpants book? I have to go quick. We're 11 minutes in, so if I can finish this whole book, then in like the next 10 minutes, then we're on time. Do you see that old guy looking out the window? That's Mr. Krupp, the principal. Now, Mr. Krupp was the meanest, sourest old principal in the whole history of Jerome Howard's elementary school. He hated laughter and singing. He hated the sounds of children playing at recess. In fact, he hated children altogether. And guess which 2 children Mr. Krupp hated most of all? If you guessed George and Harold, you're right. Mr. Krupp hated George and Harold. He hated their pranks and their wisecracks. He hated their silly attitudes and their constant giggling. And he especially hated those awful Captain Underpants books. I'm going to get those boys one day, Mr. Krupp vowed. Mr. Krupp vowed. One day, very, very soon. Remember when I said that George and Harold's silly streak got them into big, big trouble? Well, this is the story of how that all happened, and how some of the huge pranks in Little Bank Mail turned their principal into one of the coolest superheroes of all time. It was the day of the big football game between the Horde Snuggleheads and the Stubbornville Stinkbugs. The bleachers were filled with fans. The cheerleaders ran onto the field and shook their pom-poms over their heads. A fine black dust drifted out of their pom-poms and settled all over them. "Give me a K," shouted the cheerleaders. "K," repeated the fans. "N." "Give me an N," shouted the cheerleaders, rather. "N," replied the fans. "Give me a chew," sneezed the cheerleaders. "A chew," repeated the fans. The cheerleaders sneezed and sneezed and sneezed some more. They couldn't stop sneezing. "Hey," shouted a fan in the bleachers. "Somebody sprinkled black pepper into the cheerleaders' pom-poms." "I wonder who did that," asked another fan. The cheerleaders stumbled off the field, sneezing and dripping with mucus as the marching band members took their places. But when the band began to play, steamy streams of bubbles began blowing up on their instruments. Bubbles were everywhere. Up and down the field, the marching band slipped and slid, leaving behind a trail of thick, wet, bubbly foam. "Hey," shouted a fan in the bleachers. "Somebody poured bubble bath into the marching band's instruments." "I wonder who did that," asked another fan. Soon the football team soaked the field. The knuckleheads kicked the ball. Up went the ball. Higher and higher it went. The ball sailed into the clouds and kept right on going until nobody could see it anymore. "Hey," shouted a fan in the bleachers. "Somebody filled the game ball with helium." "I wonder who did that," said another fan. But the missing ball didn't make any difference because at the moment the knuckleheads were rolling down the field, scratching and itching like crazy. "Hey," shouted the coach. Wow. "Somebody replaced our deep heating muscle rub lotion with Mr. Prankster's extra scratchy itching cream." "I wonder who did that," shouted the fans in the bleachers. The whole afternoon went on much the same, with people shouting everything from "Hey, somebody put sea monkeys in lemonade" to "Hey, somebody glued all the bathroom doors shut." Before long, most of the fans in the bleachers have gotten up and left. The big game had been forfeited and everyone in the entire school was miserable. Everyone, that is, except for 2 giggling boys crouching in the shadows beneath the bleachers. "Those were our best pranks yet," laughed Harold. Yep, chuckled George. "That'll be hard to top, that's for sure. I just hope they don't get busted for this," said Harold. "Don't worry," said George. "We covered our tracks really well. There's no way we'll get busted." Chapter 6, Busted. Oh my god. After the vlog, you are going to see the movie and make a review. I already saw the movie, actually. I'll talk about it after I finish this book. The next day at school, an announcement came over the loudspeaker. "George Beard and Harold Hutchin, please report at the principal Krupp office at once." "Uh-oh," said Harold. "I don't like the sound of that." "Don't worry," said George. "That can't prove anything." A page just fell out. I have no idea where this came from. Oh, these are from the final pages of the book. Okay, I'll put those in at the end. I'm regretting this decision already. But I'm not going back on it, because I already promised it. George and Harold entered Principal Krupp's office and sat down in the chairs in front of the desk. The 2 boys had been in the office together countless times before, but this time was different. Mr. Krupp was smiling. As long as George and Harold had known Mr. Krupp, they had never ever seen him smile. Mr. Krupp knew something. "I didn't see you boys at the big game yesterday," said Mr. Krupp. No," said George. "We weren't feeling well." Yeah," Harold stammered nervously. "We went home." "Oh, that's too bad," said Principal Krupp. "You boys missed a good game." George and Harold quickly glanced at each other, gulped, and tried hard not to look guilty. "Luckily for you, I have a videotape of the whole thing," Mr. Krupp said. He turned on the television in the corner and pressed the play button on the VCR. A black and white image appeared on the TV screen. It was an overhead shot of George and Harold sprinkling pepper into the cheerleaders' pom-poms. Next came a shot of George and Harold pouring liquid bubble bath into the marching band's instruments. "How do you like the pregame show?" asked Mr. Krupp with a devilish grin. George eyed the television screen in terror. He couldn't answer. Harold's eyes were glued to the floor. He couldn't look. The tape went on and on, revealing all of George and Harold's behind-the-scenes antics. But by now, both boys were eyeing on the floor, squirming nervously and dripping with sweat. Mr. Krupp turned off the TV. "You know," he said, "ever since you boys came to this school, there's been one prank after another. First, you put dissected frogs in the Jell-O salad at the parent-teacher banquet. Then you made it snow in the cafeteria. Then you rigged all the intercoms so they blasted Weird Al Yankovic songs full blast for 6 hours straight. For 4 long years, you two have been running around in this school and have never been able to prove anything until now." Mr. Krupp held the videotape in his hands. "I took the liberty of installing tiny video surveillance cameras all over the school. I knew I'd catch you two in the act one day. I just didn't know it'd be so easy." Chapter 7. A Little Black Man. Mr. Krupp sat back in his chair, chuckled to himself for a long, long time. Finally, George got out the courage to speak. "What were you doing to do with that tape?" he said. "I thought you'd never ask," laughed Principal Krupp. I'm regretting my decision greatly right now. Number 1, my decision to stream 7 of these books. And number 2, my decision not to bring water upstairs with me. Also, I don't know where Brandon went. I hope he's enjoying this. This is what he wanted. Also, what is up with my... Kind of gotta fix that. Okay. Oh, here we are. We're on this page. "I thought long and hard about what to do with this tape," Mr. Krupp said. At first, I thought I'd send copies to your parents." The boys swallowed hard and sank deeply in their chairs. "Then I thought I might send a copy to the school board," Mr. Krupp continued. "I can easily get you both expelled for this." The boys swallowed harder and sank deeper in their chairs. "Finally, I came to a decision," Mr. Krupp said. "I think the football team would be very curious to find out just who was responsible for yesterday's fiasco. I think I'll send a copy of the tape to them." George and Harold leaped out of their chairs and fell to their knees. "No," cried George, "you can't do that. They'll kill us." "Yeah," begged Harold, "they'll kill us every day for the rest of our lives." Mr. Krupp laughed and laughed. "Please have mercy," the boys cried. "We'll do anything." "Anything?" asked Principal Krupp with delight. He reached into his desk, pulled out a list of demands, and tossed it at the boys. "If you don't want to be dead as long as you live, you'll follow these rules exactly." George and Harold carefully looked over the list. This is blackmail," said George. "Well, call it what you like," Principal Krupp snapped. "But if you two don't follow this list exactly, then this tape becomes the property of the Horowitz knuckleheads." I'm regretting everything. We're on chapter 8. I don't know how many chapters are in this book. Let me check. Chapter 20. Oh my god. There are 20 chapters in this one book. Alright, let's go. At 6 o'clock the next morning, George and Harold dragged themselves out of bed, walked over to Mr. Krupp's house, and began washing his car. Then, while Harold scrubbed the tires, George roamed around the yard, pulling out all the weeds and crabgrass he could find. Afterwards, they cleaned the gutters and washed all the windows on his house. At school, George and Harold sat up straight, listened carefully, and spoke only when spoken to. They didn't tell jokes, they didn't pull pranks, and they didn't even smile. The teacher just kept pinching herself. "I just know this is a dream," she said. At lunch, the two boys vacuumed Mr. Krupp's office. He shined his shoes and polished his desktop. At recess, they clipped his fingernails and ironed his tie. Each spare moment in the boys' daily schedule was spent catering to Mr. Krupp's every whim. After school, George and Harold mowed Mr. Krupp's lawn, tended his garden, and began painting his front of the house. At sunset, Mr. Krupp came outside and handed each boy a stack of books. "Gentlemen," he said, I've asked your teacher to give both of you extra homework. Now go home, study hard, and I'll see you back here at 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. We've got a busy day ahead of us." "Thank you, sir," moaned the two boys. George and Harold walked home dead tired. "Man, this was the first day of my entire life," said George. "Don't worry," said Harold. "We only have to do this for 8 more years. Then we can move on to some faraway land where they'll never find us, maybe Antarctica." "I think I have a better idea," said George. He took out a piece of paper out of his pocket and handed it to Harold. It was an old magazine ad for the 3D hypno ring. "How is this going to help us?" asked Harold. "All we gotta do is hypnotize Mr. Krupp," said George. "We'll make him give us the video and forget this whole mess ever happened." "That's a great idea," said Harold, "and the best part is we only have to wait 4 to 6 weeks for delivery." Chapter 9, 4 to 6 weeks later. After 4 to 6 weeks of back-breaking slave labor, gribbling homework assignments, and humiliating good behavior at school, package arrived in George's mailbox from the Little Wise Guy Novelty Company. It was the 3D hypno ring. "Hallelujah," cried George. "It's everything I ever hoped for." Let me see," said Harold. "Don't ever look directly at it," warned George. "You don't want to get hypnotized, do you?" "Do you really think it'll work?" asked Harold. "Do you really think we can amaze our friends, control our enemies, and take over the world just like the ad says?" "It better work," said George, "or else we just wasted 4 whole bucks." The next morning, George and Harold didn't arrive early at Mr. Krupp's house to watch his car reaching Les Rouge. In fact, they were even a little late getting to school. When they finally showed up, Mr. Krupp was standing at the front door waiting for them, and boy was he mad. Okay, if I can do this and finish this book in 10 minutes, then my personal goal of finishing a book in 20 minutes works. Mr. Krupp escorted the boys into the office and slammed the door. Alright, where were you two this morning? He growled. We wanted to come over to your house, said George, but we were busy trying to figure out the secret of this ring. What ring? Snapped Mr. Krupp. George held up his hand and showed the ring to Principal Krupp. It's got one of those weird patterns on it, said Harold. If you stare at it long enough, a picture appears. Well, hold it still, snarled Mr. Krupp. I can't see the darn thing. I have to move it back and forth, said George, or else it won't work. Mr. Krupp's eyes followed the rings back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. You have to stare deeper into the ring, said Harold. Deeper, 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 deeper. You're getting sleepy, said George. Very sleepy. Mr. Krupp's eyelids began to droop. I'm so sleepy, he mumbled. Mumbled. After a few minutes, Mr. Krupp's eyes were closed tight, and he began to snore. You are under our spell, said George. When I snap my fingers, you will obey our every command. Snap. I will obey, mumbled Mr. Krupp. Alright, said George. Have you still got the videotape of me of Harold? Yes, mumbled Mr. Krupp. Well, hand it over, bub, George instructed. Mr. Krupp unlocked a large file cabinet and opened the bottom drawer. He reached in and handed George the videotape. George stuffed it in his backpack. Harold took a different video out of his backpack and put it in the file cabinet. What's that video? Asked George. It's one of my little sisters, old Boomer the Purple Dragon's sing-along videos. Nice touch, said George. Chapter 11. When Harold bent down to close the file cabinet, he took a quick look inside. Whoa, look at all this stuff in here. The file cabinet was filled with everything Mr. Krupp had taken away from the boys over the years. There were slingshots, whoopee cushions, skateboards, fake doggy doo, you name it. It was all there. Look at this, cried George. A big stack of Captain Underpants comics. He's got every issue, said Harold. For hours, the two boys sat on the floor laughing and reading the comics. Finally, George looked at the clock. Yikes, he said, it's almost lunchtime. We better clean up this mess and get to class. The boys looked up at the principal, who'd been standing behind them in a trance all morning. Gee, I almost forgot about Mr. Krupp, said Harold. What should we do with him? Do you want to have some fun? Asked George. Why not, said Harold. I haven't had any fun in the last 4 to 6 weeks. Cool, said George. He walked up to Mr. Krupp and snapped his fingers. Snap. You are a chicken, he said. Suddenly, Mr. Krupp leaped into his desk and flapped his arms. Cluck, 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 he cried, clicking his papers off the desk behind him and pecking at his pen and paper set. George and Harold howled with laughter. Let me try, said Harold. You are a monkey. You've got to snap your fingers, said George. Oh yeah, said Harold. Snap, you are a monkey. Suddenly, Mr. Krupp sprung up from his desk and began swinging from the light fixtures. He shrieked, leaping from one side of the room to the other. George and Harold almost laughed so hard, they almost cried. Oh my god, I'm about to cry. My turn, said George. Let's see, what should we turn him into next? I know, Harold said, holding up Captain Underpants. Let's turn him into Captain Underpants. Good idea, said George. Snap, you are now the greatest superhero of all time, the amazing Captain Underpants. Mr. Krupp tore down the red curtain from his office window and tied it around his neck. Then he took off the shoes, socks, shirts, pants, and his awful toupee. Tra-la-la, he sang. Mr. Krupp stood before them, looking quite triumphant, with his cape blowing in the breeze of the open window. George and Harold were dumbfounded. You know, said George, he kind of looks like Captain Underpants. Yeah, Harold said. After a short silence, the two boys looked at each other and burst into laughter. George and Harold never laughed so hard in their entire lives. Tears ran down their faces as they rolled down the floor, shrieking in hysterics. After a while, George pulled himself up from the floor for another look. Hey, cried George, where'd he go? George and Harold dashed to the window and looked out. There, running across the parking lot, was a pudgy old guy in his underwear with a red cape flowing behind him. Mr. Krupp, come back, shouted Harold. He won't answer that, said George. He thinks he's Captain Underpants. Oh no, said Harold. He's probably running off to fight crime, said George. Oh no, said Harold. And we gotta stop him, said George. Oh no, cried Harold. No way. Look, said George. He can get killed out there. Harold was on move. Of course, said George. We can get into big trouble. You're right, said Harold. We gotta go after him. The two boys opened the bottom file cabinet drawer and took out the slingshots and skateboards. Do you think we should bring anything else? Asked George. Yeah. Let's bring this fake doggy doo. Good thinking, said Harold. You don't know when fake doggy doo is going to come in handy. Hello to the 5 people watching. It's been 23 minutes. We are 60 pages in Captain Underpants. I am regretting my decision not to get a drink of water before this. I'm hoping I can read each book in 20 minutes to finish this at a reasonable amount of time. But, who knows if that's going to happen. Harold stuffed Mr. Krupp's... Also, I'm stuttering a lot because I'm trying to go fast here. Harold stuffed Mr. Krupp's clothes, shoes, and toupee into his backpack. Then together the two boys leaped out of the window, slid down the flagpole, and took off on their skateboards after the amazing Captain Underpants. George and Harold rode their skateboards all over town, looking for Captain Underpants. I can't find him anywhere, said Harold. You'd think a guy like him would be easy to spot, said George. Then the boy turned the corner, and there he was. Captain Underpants was standing in front of a bank, looking quite heroic. Mr. Krupp, cried Harold. Shh, said George. Don't call him that. Call him Captain Underpants. Oh yeah, said Harold. And don't forget to snap your fingers, said George. Right, said Harold. Before he got a chance, the bank robbers The bank doors flew wide open, and out stood 2 robbers. The robbers took one look at Captain Underpants and stopped dead in their tracks. Surrender to Captain Underpants, or I will have to resort to wedgie power. Oh no, whispered George and Harold. Nobody moved for about 10 seconds. Finally, the robbers looked at each other and burst out laughing. They dropped their loot and fell to the sidewalk, screaming out in hysterics. Almost immediately, the cops showed up and arrested the crooks. Let that be a lesson, you Captain Underpants. Never underestimate the power of underwear. The police chief looked quite angry, marched over to Captain Underpants. And who do you think you are? The police chief demanded. Why, I'm Captain Underpants, the world's greatest superhero. I fight for truth, justice, and all that is pre-shrunk and cottony. Oh yeah, started the police chief cuffing boys. One of the cops took him out of the handcuffs and grabbed Captain Underpants by the arm. Oh, cried George, we gotta roll. Together, the two boys zoomed out of the crowd, waving in and out of the cops and bystanders. Harold skated up to Captain Underpants and knocked the superhero off his feet. George caught him, and the boys skated away with him on their shoulders. Stop, cried the cops, but it was too late. George and Harold were already gone. After the quick escape, George, Harold, and Captain Underpants stopped on a deserted street corner to catch their breath. Okay, said George, let's hypnotize him quick before something else happens. A huge explosion came from the rare crystal shop across the street. Heavy smoke poured out of the building. Suddenly, two robots with one stolen crystal emerged from the smoke and jumped into a van. Do I see two robots getting into a van? You know, said George. Up until now, the story was almost believable. Well, believable or not, said Harold, we're not getting involved. I repeat, we're not getting involved. Just then, Captain Underpants leaped from the street into the van. Stop in the name of underwear. He cried, oh, said George, I think we're getting involved. The two robots sobered out the van and swerved around Captain Underpants. Unfortunately, the van brushed up against his red cape and it got caught with a mighty jerk. Captain Underpants flipped backwards and the van pulled him along as it drove away. Grab him, cried George. The two boys skateboarded with all their might towards the speeding van and grabbed Captain Underpants by the ankles. Help, they cried as the van pulled them through the city. Mommy, said the little boy standing on a bench, I just saw the two robots driving a van with a guy in his underwear hanging on the back of a red cape, pulling two boys on skateboards behind him with his feet. How do you expect me to leave such a ridiculous story? Asked his mom. Suddenly, the van came to a screeching halt in front of an old abandoned warehouse. They suddenly stopped and Captain Underpants flipped over the roof of the van and crashed through the building. Well, said the strange voice in the warehouse. It looks like we have a visitor. Tower 15, Dr. Diaper. George and Harold hid behind a van until the coast was cleared. Then they sneaked up in the hold and they peeked inside. Captain Underpants was all tied up, the two robots were standing guard, and the strange little man wearing a diaper was laughing maniacally. I am the evil Dr. Diaper, the strange little man told Captain Underpants, and you will be the first witness to take over the world. Dr. Diaper placed a stolen crystal in a large machine called the Lasermatic 2000. The machine started to light up, make loud noises. Heavy gears began shifting and spinning after a laser beam from the crystal shot right through the hole in a ceiling. In exactly 20 minutes, this laser will blow up the moon and send huge chunks of it crashing down upon every major city in the world. Then it will rise from the rubble and take over the planet. Only one thing can help us now, said George. What? Asked Harold. Rubber doggy do, said George. Harold took out the fake doggy do into a slingshot from George's backpack and handed him. Be careful, said George. The fate of the entire planet is in your arm. With careful and precise aim, George shot the rubber doggy do across the air and across the room. It landed with a plop right at the feet of Dr. Diaper. Yes, whispered George and Harold. Dr. Diaper looked down at the doggy do between his feet and turned bright red. Oh dear me, he cried. I'm dreadfully embarrassed. Please excuse me. He began to waddle towards the nearest restroom. This had never happened to me before, I assure you, he said. I guess with all the excitement, I just, oh dear, oh dear. Oh my god. While Dr. Diaper was off changing himself, George and Harold sneaked into the old warehouse. Immediately, the robots detected the boys and began marching towards them. Destroy the intruders, said the robots. Destroy the intruders. George and Harold screamed and looked back at the warehouse, ran to the back of it. Suddenly, George found two old boards and gave one to Harold. We're not going to have to resort to extremely graphic violence, are we? Asked Harold. I sure hope not, said George. Warning, the following scene contains extremely graphic violence of two boys beating up robots. This is a flipperama, so it's our first flipperama. We're so close to being done with this book. Boom. There's a little flip for you. There are 4 people here. The chat's been dead, just listening. Also, wow, it looks dark. Okay, there we go. Here is a quick flipperama for you. Okay, where should I put it? There? It's hard to do flipperama on a computer, I'm sorry. George saves Harold. Flip, flip, flip. Flip, flip, flip. It'll flip. Flip, flip, flip. We could just skip the flipperama, really. Just wasting our time. Oh, I know why. I have to hold it over here. Okay. Alright, well that was the end anyway. After defeating the robots, George and Harold untied Captain Underpants. Come on, cried Harold. Let's get out of here. Wait, said Captain Underpants. We have to save the world first. So George, Harold, and Captain Underpants frantically looked all over the Lasermatic 2000, searching for a way to shut it down and stop the inevitable disaster. Said Harold, I think this might be the lever we want. He pulled the self-destruct lever. Suddenly, the laser began to sputter and shake. The huge laser turned off, and pieces flew around the room. It's gonna blow, Harold. Run for your lives. Not so fast, screamed Dr. Diaper. He appeared with a gun. You demolished my robots. You destroyed my Lasermatic, and you ruined my one chance to take over the world. But you won't You won't live to tell the tale. Dr. Diaper pulled out his gun and pointed at George, Harold, and Captain Underpants. Captain Underpants quickly stretched a pair of underwear, shot at Dr. Diaper. The underwear landed right inside of his head. Help, cried Dr. Diaper, I can't see. George and Harold ran out of the warehouse as fast as they could. Great shot, Captain Underpants, cried Harold. There's just one thing I couldn't understand. Where did you get the extra pair of underwear? What extra pair of underwear, said Captain Underpants. Never mind that, cried George. Let's get out of here before the thing explodes. The lasermatic blew up, tearing apart the warehouse. It sent flames in every direction, fire from the sky. Oh no, George Harold, we're doomed. Chapter 18, they got away. George, Harold, and Captain Underpants made a quick stop outside the police station. They tied Dr. Dipper to a lamp and attached a note to him. There's Captain Underpants that will explain everything. Then George Harold led Captain Underpants back to the school. What are we doing here? Asked Captain Underpants. Well, so we have to do some undercover work here. Yes, sir. Reaching out of a backpack. Put these clothes on and make it snappy. Don't forget your hair. Captain Underpants quickly got dressed, put out some, behind some bushes. Well, how do you look? How do I look? He asked. Pretty good. Now try to look real mad. He looked really mad. He kind of looks like Mr. Krupp. Harold, he is Mr. Krupp. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Before long, they were all back inside Mr. Krupp's office. Okay, Captain Underpants said, George, you are now Mr. Krupp. Snap your fingers, whispered Harold. Oh yeah. Snap, you are now Mr. Krupp. Who's Mr. Krupp? Asked Captain Underpants. Oh no, cried Harold. It's not working. The boys quickly tried and tried again to de-hypnotize him, but nothing seemed to work. Said Harold, let me see the instruction manual for the ring. George checked the pants pocket. Said George, I think I lost it. You lost what? They searched for the ring. Never mind, he said, I have an idea. He moved the flowers from the vase, and then he poured water all over his head. What did you do that for? I saw it do it in a cartoon once. It's gotta work. After a few minutes, he slowly came to his senses. What's going on here? He demanded, and why am I all wet? George and Harold had never been so glad to see Mr. Krupp in their lives. I'm so happy I can cry, said Harold. Well, you're gonna cry when I give that videotape to the football team. I've had it with you. He took the videotape. You boys are dead, he sneered. He stormed out of the office with the videotape and headed toward the gym. He smiled. Wait until the football team sees that, tape. Yeah, I sure hope they like singing dragons. Hey, look, said George. I found the manual. It was in my shirt pocket. Well, throw that thing away. We'll never need it again. Chapter 20. Things at elementary school were never quite the same again on that fateful day. The football team enjoyed the video so much they changed their name from the Knuckleheads to the Purple Dragon Sing-Along Friends. The name didn't go over too well with the fans, but hey, who's gonna argue with a bunch of linebackers? George and Harold went back to their old ways, pulling pranks, cracking jokes, and making new comic books. They had to keep an eye on Mr. Krupp, though, because every time, for some strange reason, when he heard fingers snapping, he turned back into you-know-who. Oh no, cried Harold. Here we go again, said George. Tra-la-la! This one book down. I feel dead. I don't know why I thought this would be a good idea. We have 6 more books to go. I'm regretting every decision right now. Let me, let Teddy in my room. Come in, bud. Come on. Oh, I just heard the music downstairs. Teddy walked in. But 1 book is down! And we have 6 more to go. I'm going to deactivate my YouTube channel. This is full-on torture. 1 book is down. I'm really hoping these books don't get longer and longer, like Harry Potter. Oh no. Oh no! The final one is extremely thick. Like 200 pages thick. 174 pages the last one is. I might as well just read a whole Harry Potter book in one sitting. Reading all these. Look at all these. Look how many more we have to go. Well, we finished this book, so I have to take this image down. Let's take this image down. Okay, now Teddy wants to leave for some reason. He just got in, now he wants to leave. But I am regretting this entire decision. It would have been so much easier to just play like a DS game. There's still time. Still time to switch to a DS game if you people wanted me to. Or if you people want me to torture myself with more Captain Underpants, that's good too. Let me, Teddy out. My god, though. This is really bad. This is no fun. We're on book 2. I don't know where book 2 went. I hope it's not long. Oh my god, it's like 200 pages. It's book 2 is 140 pages. That's like 300 pages between all of them so far. But if I could finish this one in 30 minutes, then we'll be on a good schedule. And hopefully we'll be done with the stream by like 10 o'clock tonight. Meaning I have 2 hours of this to go through. For what? For what? Why am I doing this? How is this benefiting me? How is this benefiting me in any way? There are literally 3 pages of chapters. There was only 1 in the first book. Also, I'm not reading this. This does not count. This is just a recap of who Captain Underpants is. We already know that from the last book, so I'd start here. I'm regretting everything right now. That's how I feel. I don't know if Brandon's still here. I know Gamer Alex is still here. I don't know if CJ is still here. Gamer Alex, you're still here and you want more Captain Underpants. Oh my god. I have an itch on my nose. That's why I'm itching my nose. Gamer Alex, you want more Captain Underpants? Looks like we need to do more Captain Underpants in that case. I feel great regret. What I can also do, if I stopped doing Captain Underpants, is I can, like, set up a, I forget who had this idea for me, but I can set up a, like a sideline, fake phone number, and then I could, like, put it on stream, and then I could just have people call in and just talk. If people wanted to do that, we could do that instead of me reading Captain Underpants. It might be a little more exciting for you people. It's up for you guys. Up to you guys, rather. I'm leaving it up for the viewers before I do anything. I forgot to mention everyone in my Discord. It's probably why no one joined the stream. But I'm gonna wait for a couple more people to, it's been like 40 minutes so far. It took me like 40 minutes to read one Captain Underpants book. So like, that's bad. Actually, it took me 20. I was just talking for like 20 minutes. If you guys like, do you guys want that instead? I could switch everything up. I could quickly make a new thumbnail, like right now. Let me ask other people. It's up to you guys, though. If you guys want more Captain Underpants, then you can have it. But I feel like might be more exciting is if I, wow, that music downstairs is loud. I think what might be more exciting is if I, like, made a sideline real quick, got a little different phone number, put it out on the thing, and then just had people call the number. So, I don't know if you guys want that. I know that this, I don't know how loud this music sounds. Let me listen real quick. Thing and then just have people call the number. So I don't. Okay, I think it's fine. I think the Pokemon music overpowers it. But what do you guys think? Okay, that was a very bad typo. Alright, we're gonna end the stream. I'm gonna switch it over to like calling viewers and whatnot. So give me like 5 minutes and the stream will be switched. So I hope you enjoyed a quick 40-minute stream of me reading Captain Underpants 1. I could do this again if you really want this, but I want to just do like a kind of a chill hangout calling people stream. So be right back in like 5